Hey y'all,
What's going on, guys?
I'm Jay,
And I'm Chris the Bird Nerd.
and we
And we
are
are
the
the Bird
Bird
Brains.
Brains.
Woo!
All right. If everybody watches my channel, I've already mentioned this once. I left it. I didn't really make a big deal of it. I just quietly mentioned it in one of my latest videos, and I got a couple responses. But I am building I have my daughter's necklace. I don't know why. Um, Einstein had it, and then I took it from him. Now I'm playing with it. But I am building a new aviary, um,
Boom.
a monstrous aviary. I'm very, very excited, and my good friend Chris is going to come help me build it at some point.
Yes. It's going
So
to be
looking forward
awesome.
to that. But obviously, Chris and I have been talking on and off about the plans and thoughts and should I do this? Should I do that? And we kind of said we should probably record this and make it a podcast episode. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk aviary design, building the new aviary, and all the different elements of that. So stick around. And then at the end, we have a big, big surprise, something we've been working on from not even across the pond, all the way from down under.
Yeah, yeah.
So stick around and we'll talk about that too.
The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. Bird Brains, Bird Brains. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. Bird Brains, Bird
All
Brains.
right. So yeah, new aviary.
It,
So
and Jay, do our viewers know where this new aviary is going to go?
yeah, I guess so. I'll start with this. So married, got a really great, tolerant wife, got
Both of us
three,
do.
yeah, three wonderful kids, and probably planning on at least one more. Chris has four.
Yep.
So he knows the game, but my wife came to me, shoot, I mean, it's been close to a year ago now, and said, "Hey, there's this incredible house for sale in an awesome neighborhood with a lot of land." And it's a neighborhood my wife grew up in. It's like a super kid-friendly neighborhood. And she said, "We should move." And I did not want to move. I like our current house, and it's a lot of work, and I really like our interest rate. And but my wife said, "You can have unlimited birdcage. You can do whatever you want, no rules, no limits." And I've never said this on the podcast before. I think Chris knows this, but where my birdcage is now, for it to get any bigger, it would have to go past our bathroom window. And I've been trying for years to get that permission, and no dice. Um, So this is my only opportunity to get a bigger bird cage. And so it's this long drawn out process, but we bought the house, we closed like 2 weeks ago, and we are doing some house renovating and a new bird cage, which is the point of this episode.
And Jay, I have to chuckle when you say she proposed the bird or the aviary to you, and that's all it took for you to say, "Yep, we'll move." Uh, you know, we bought my wife's grandma's house. It's been 4.5 years now since we've done that, and the big motivator for me too was, oh hey, I could double the size of my bird aviary and shed in the back corner of the lot, and I was like, yep, I'm all in. So my brother who keeps birds, we always joke with each other and say, you never have enough and you never have enough space. So any opportunity that you get to get more space, we usually are all in. So
Yeah, and you know, I like to, and I think at this point I'm just lying to myself, right? And my friends will make fun of me here, and you're the bird man or whatever, but then they'll all tell me, no, it's cool, it's cool. So, but I try to think of myself as, I mean, this podcast is, I'm guilty of this as thin, but I try not to think of myself as like a bird person. Try to think of myself as like a dude that has a lot of cool hobbies. One of them happens to be birds.
Yep.
And it's just not true, right? Right. It's just, I was like, the minute my wife was like, no, you can have whatever bird cage you want. I was like, okay, when are we moving? You know,
Yep.
it's just
Uh-huh.
like, we'll do it. So, um, and then this house, and I'll overlay some pictures in this and show you. This house had a much larger shed pre-built. My current shed right now is 10 feet by 8 feet. And the new shed is 10 feet wide by 16 feet long.
Very nice.
So it's
So it's about the
essentially,
same dimensions as my current shed. So
yeah. So but it's essentially double
right.
my current shed. So that was the first thing. It's also a much taller shed, which was a big deal. So there's a lot more room to go up. And then around it is a ton more room. And then I don't have the rules that I had before about you know, the space I was confined to. So I'm pretty excited. So the to give you an idea, we'll just start with this for the listeners. Chris has already heard all this, but to give you an idea, my current uh so in you know, I've got that shed which we already talked about, and there's a flight in there and some other cages, but the current aviary, the outdoor portion is approximately 15 feet long by 5.5 feet wide. The new aviaries are going to be 16 feet long and 8 feet wide. Well, two of them will be 16 feet long and 8 feet wide, more or less. One of them's not a perfect rectangle, but more or less. And then the third one's going to be 5 feet wide by 16 feet long. So I am more than tripling the outdoor space, and I'm going from one outdoor aviary to three.
And Jay, I love that you mentioned the dimensions on that, and we've mentioned it many times in the past, and we'll get into what it takes to build these aviaries here in a minute. But um, length is important on your aviaries, right? You would much rather have your aviaries be longer than they are tall, right? If your aviary was 5 feet long and 16 feet tall, that's essentially useless for your birds as far as getting exercise, because that length is what forces them to fly those longer distances, exercise their wings and whatnot. And then also the shed portion, it's really important. Even in where you live, you guys may not have cold winters like I do here in Utah, but you have a lot more severe elements than what I experience, right? When it comes to rain and thunderstorms or hurricanes, things like that, wind storms. And that shed is important for the birds to be able to go into and escape. And so having those aviaries attached and tied into that shed so they can get all the exercise they want. And then when they need to shelter or go inside, they can easily pop inside your shed and be protected from the elements. And it really is a game changer, especially when we deal with some of the exotic finches that we breed that are a little bit more sensitive to the elements and changes in weather and whatnot. And it really is important.
Yeah, I mean, and then also for me, from just the standpoint of, you know, breeding and holding cages and everything else, and hospital cages, you've even if you keep birds outdoors, you've really got to have some kind of shed or something.
Yep. Some
Eh,
shelter from the elements for sure.
right. And so to have this opportunity, so um, I guess first let's start out with what the situation was like when I bought it. And again, I'll post some pictures. So when I bought this, the shed was already there, but the shed is just an empty shell. So no power, no water, nothing but a, you know, frame, siding, and a roof. So and then I guess doors. So it did have two windows. I should add that.
Nice. Nice.
So that is and then on the outside where I wanted to put the aviaries, there are trees in the way. So one of which was a massive water oak, which is a two-pronged problem. So water oaks grow really fast, and then have a really short lifespan, and they're really prone to falling over. So that, in addition to being in the way, if it did fall over and land on the bird cage, then you might have a
Yeah.
hole in the bird cage problem.
Right.
So the first thing that I had to do was get those trees removed. Well, those trees got removed at the beginning of the week. So really, that was the first big thing. It was really exciting. Had a tree guy come in, remove all the trees. So
It's awesome.
as it stands now, I have the empty shed, but I have room to put in the aviaries. The next thing that is happening is I'm running electricity to the shed. Um, and that has been not as easy as you would think. I have to run a several 100 foot long buried wire through my yard, um, and been figuring that out all day today. But so, like Chris said, we don't get as cold as Utah, but I mean, shoot, this past year we were in the single digits for a week and got a foot of snow.
Yeah.
So who knows? But um, I need to be able to. I try to keep my aviaries heated in the winter. So I need to have enough power out there to run three space heaters at the same time because I'll have three aviaries now. And I've got to be able to run the lights. And then, new for me, I've got to be able to run the refrigerator and the dishwasher
Which is awesome.
that's that's going out there. Yeah,
That
that was actually my wife's, you know, by the way.
that that just that upgrade alone. So for those that, I mean, it's huge having power out there, right? So you can control the elements a little bit better within your shed, right? Heating, AC, whatever that looks like. Water's the second biggest thing, right? Then you're not having to lug fresh water out there every single day. That's huge. A dishwasher and fridge, I mean, that's just like you might as well just build your bed out there too, man, and just live out there with the birds. So, but
I
dishwasher
did.
is huge because the birds are messy, and hand washing their food dishes and whatnot, or getting in trouble by our significant others when we bring the dirty dishes into the house dishwasher. They're not a huge fan of that, and so having your own dishwasher out there, that's huge. I mean, that's real cool. I guess you would just have to run it on a cold cycle, though, right? I mean,
So
are you going to get a water heater out there or something to heat up your
I'm
water?
right. So I don't have water out there either. So water's coming next. I'm meeting with the plumber later this week about that. So I am only so we'll talk about water in a second. I want to get back. I want to do one at a time. So it'll break my brain if I don't. So I had to figure out how much power. So I'm running 100 amps out there, which if you're not a handy person listening to this, that's a lot of power.
Yeah, it's a good amount of power.
So I'll be able to run, like, for instance, a space heater's 15 amps. So I should be able to run everything I need to, plus have some wiggle room. Because the last thing I want to do is I'm out of town and the breakers trip and all that, in the winter and the heaters are all off. So excited about that. Um, and if we get into the layout a little bit, so picture a rectangle, right? This is the shed. I'm gonna have two doors, and I'll put this up for people to see. I have two doors in the top left corner that serve those two aviaries. One door in the bottom right corner that serves the other aviary, and then ab above that door, if you were looking down at it, I'm going to have on one side the dishwasher and the sink, and on the other side the refrigerator. So what I'm actually going to do is just run three outlets on each side. So that'll be enough for me to plug in everything I need to plug in and have a few extra plug spots if I need to do little heat lamps or other lighting or whatever else.
Nice.
So, and I could even go to four. I got to talk to the electrician tomorrow morning and maybe I'll go to four just in case. Why not? That's not a big difference. So I'll have the 100 amps out there now. Yeah, as far as the water goes, it's expensive. These are all expensive things to do, by the way. This is not a
Yeah.
this is not a budget situation. So if anybody wants to donate Home Depot gift cards to your boy, go ahead. Um, but the it's cheaper basically to run cold water out there and then have a water heater than it is to run hot and cold out from the house.
For sure.
So I'm still deciding. I got this is another question for the this is a question for the plumber. At Home Depot, I was looking, they have small, like 2.5 gallon hot water heaters of the normal time, but they also have small on-demand water heaters.
Hmm.
So I got to figure out which one of those makes more sense for what I'm trying to do. But yeah, so I'll be able to have hot water for washing my hands in the winter, and I'll be able to run hot dishwasher
Yeah.
cycles because I want to be able to run it hot to help keep, bacteria risk down, right? I want to be able to disinfect things.
Right.
Um,
The
and
good thing
so,
for you, Jay, is you don't get cold enough winters. You have to worry about water freezing, right? So that's one issue I have. So I do have water plumbed out to my shed, and generally in Utah, if you bury your pipes more than 6 inches below the ground, typically they your pipes don't freeze as easy, right, and blow and burst. But end of December to about mid February, that's my greatest risk, and I usually have to shut my water off to my birds because it freezes, and so that'll be good for you, not having to worry about water freezing or things like that, and being able to have it available year round. That'll be nice.
yeah, I occasionally have to drip the faucets, but that's like, at most like a couple of weeks a year, if even.
Right.
Um, yeah, and so I'll be able to have water out there, and then I've never had a sink in the aviary before. Um, I have to go inside if I need a sink, or I just kind of use the hose.
Uh,
So I'm excited just to have a sink out there to be able to, carry small waters out there already filled up. And then just the increase in storage, and then also some more room on the inside. So each aviary is going to get a 4 foot long by or a 6 foot long by 4 foot wide indoor section. And then I'm also going to have some quarantine cages, some hospital cages all in a stack,
Very
kind
nice.
of blocked off from each other for biosecurity. And then I'm also going to have a stack of breeding cages that are longer. And those are going to be for some of the African species. There's some of the African species that I think just don't breed well in the aviary because it's too busy. There's too much other stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then maybe the starfinches too. So I'm going to have a couple of pretty large private breeding cages that are actually going to mostly be solid walled so that they can't really get bothered. If they can't see it, I'm hoping it won't bother them as much. So I'm planning on having basically, I mean, picture a rectangle with just
Hmm.
screen on the end. And I'm planning on having some of those for, I want to do my orange cheek waxbills, my gold breast waxbills, and my starfinches.
Which would be almost a very similar setup to what I have in mine, minus the two side aviaries that you would be putting on the side of your shed, right? My aviary is just at the end of my shed and outward that
Hmm.
way, but the inside is very similar. Have you have that set up, which is really nice, and it allows you to be able to breed birds year round, or you can at least at the minimum control the elements inside there year round, which I know the birds appreciate very much when it's super hot outside or when it's pretty chilly. They can always come into a comfortable environment for the most part year round, which is awesome.
Yeah, and then my current hose setup to get to my water hose, which I use to like clean the outdoor aviary or fill water, whatever I do, I have to go into the aviary all the way to the front, turn the water on, then come all the way back out, and the hose is on the outside. So I'm really just, this is a real simple thing, but I'm really excited about just having a hose connection in the shed and being able to just turn it on and off without having to bother birds. For instance, if I'm cleaning birds in the evening, they're getting ready to perch up, and I have to go all the way back through the aviary
Yeah.
and turn the water off at the end. So I'm really excited to just have that control um, while I'm, working on the birds.
Yeah. I
Trying
love
to
that.
think what else. So, a couple other questions. So here, I've got some questions for you, Chris. So here's the first one. Though I know Bob has it. Do you have that? You now have that drip water system, right?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, so can you, and I guess for the listeners too, can you explain to me? I've seen people do it, I've seen some videos on it, but can you explain to me how it works and pros, cons,
Yeah.
that kind of thing?
So my brother and I have almost similar systems, and the difference is my brother's his is a gravity fed system. He's got a big 5 gallon bucket that he fills up weekly and then treats the water, and then it gravity feeds through a system of 1/4 inch black tubing that carries the water, and then at the end of each tubing there's a little knob that the birds just peck at, like a chicken knob, and when they peck at that, the water will come out and they drink it, and so he's spread that out throughout his aviary. I have a similar setup. The only difference is mine is tied into my main water line, so it's all pressure forced water to the end of the feeders. Which, I mean, there's pros and cons in and of itself. Where I live, my brother, the pro is he can still fill up that 5 gallon bucket year round, and he doesn't have to worry about water freezing when it's our winter time. For me, I have to worry about the water freezing because I have it tied into my main water system. So when it comes winter, I have a kind of a quick change and I can change it to a gravity fed system. For me on the pressure, when the pressurized side, when I'm pushing water to the end of the row, uh, I've got it at the it goes through a pressure regulator and it's down to the lowest amount possible. But even then, every once in a while, a hose will pop, and then you got water spraying out in the aviary. And if you're not there, you can get a lot of water around. So that's something that I've discovered this year. But the cool thing is the birds are really easy to train to it, and it's really nice. So I don't have to from end of February till November, I don't have to water my birds. It's all done for me. And I have the end of the water system. So mine, again, ties into the main water line, a
Hmm.
bunch of series of tubes and pipes that reach every single one of my cages and flights and aviaries on the inside of my shed. And then at the very end of that, I do have a timer. So every other day, it will open up for about 20 to 30 minutes and it'll drain all the water that's in there just to keep the water fresh, which is good. We want to try and eliminate, bacteria building up inside the lines and whatnot. And so that's been really good. Again, the birds, it's easy to train to. When you get new birds in, you got to make sure that they know exactly where the water is. So I'll usually put a water bowl or dish in there along with the little feeder knobs until they learn, this is where the water comes from. The only downside, Jay, is your birds don't have open water, so they can't bathe. And birds love to bathe. It's really important for them to bathe. So, especially in the summertime, I do, I've got like a bird bath out in my aviary. I'll fill that up with the sprinklers several times throughout the week and give them opportunities to bathe. Or if I have birds in my breeding cages inside my shed, about every other day, I've got a little bowl, little dishes that I'll set in there for them to bathe. It's not necessarily for them to drink on, but they'll bathe while I'm feeding everyone else, and then I'll pull the dish out. So that is, one of the drawbacks is they don't have open water to bathe in, which is something that is vital to their health and their feather health and surviving throughout the year. So kind of have to play both sides of that, but it's efficient. It works really well, keeps the water clean, and the mess is low. I don't have water spilling everywhere, which is great. And it's easy for me. Then I only have to worry about in the mornings giving seed and egg food, and I don't have to worry about water, which is when you're busy like Jay and I, that's huge. and and it saves a good amount of time, especially with the amount of birds that we have and the different cages that we have, etc. So that's a huge positive and a big win, and one of the main reasons why I'd set it up in the first place.
Now, so you've got it just coming in off a water line, and then you have a pressure reducing valve.
Yeah.
And but you said every once in a while a line still pops.
Yeah, I've had one time this year, one of my lines popped and flooded the inside of my shed. So one thing that I have done is, every once in a while I'll go through and anywhere where I have barbed or teed off a line to add another line, I just go through and just make sure everything's snug and pushed in tight, um, which because I've learned from my lesson. But yeah, so something to keep an eye on. And this is my third year using this line system, so I think I do have pretty significant hard water in Utah, and so the build up with the hard water can cause some damage to the lines, and so there, after a couple of years, there's some line maintenance that needs to happen just to make sure it stays fresh or it doesn't plug up or those T barbs aren't getting pushed out, things like that.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So I don't know if I want to use that or not, but you prefer it obviously, or you
It
stopped
is,
using it.
yeah, no, I think it's been super beneficial. Yeah, I think there's ways you can set it up where it's really nice and efficient. I know Rancel. He's the one actually who I got the idea from. He uses a
I saw
similar,
his video.
yeah, similar water line for his birds that he has inside that his big breeding room, and so that was kind of one of the main reasons why I tried it out, and I really haven't regretted it. I still got to figure out wintertime how I can keep it efficient with my water freezing and whatnot. But yeah, so that's proven to be a little bit challenging. I don't think that'd be an issue for you. But yeah, so it's more efficient, but the drawbacks are your birds don't have open water to bathe in, and you got to do line maintenance, or you could potentially have some lines pop out and you got water spraying everywhere.
And what did it cost you to put that in?
Oh, I kind of did it in two phases. So when I first set it up, I did it for half of my shed. I did it for like my big aviaries. I'm trying to think. The pressure regulator costs the most, and from the website. And honestly, you could probably just go to your local plumbing store and get a pressure regulator for half the price. But I think altogether, I was looking at $250 to $300 with the line, pressure regulators, T barbs, the nozzles that the birds get the water out of. So yeah, $250 to $300 total for the package.
So that's not as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
And that includes the draining timer and everything.
The draining timer was an ad from my end, so I just got that from my local plumbing store and put that in. I think they have an option that you can get from their website. I'm trying to remember the website actually because it changed this last year. I'll have to find that and send it to you. You can put it in there if you want. This isn't an advertisement, but just who I
Right.
used. But yeah, I just went to my local plumbing store and just got like a little water timer that with a valve on it. So I set it to a certain time of day each week, and then it'll open up that valve on its own and drain the water out. And I've just set a 5 gallon bucket where the water drains out, and then I empty that 5 gallon bucket. It fills it about halfway full a couple times a week. You could easily plumb that to just drain outside of your shed, so you don't have to do that. But
Yeah,
that's
I
just
think
kind
I
of
could
what I
just
did.
water the plants or something.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if I'll do that right away, but that might be something I want to move to. Been thinking about that. Yeah. And then so you're the one who gave me the idea for this. So in the past, so I put I use quarter. I get asked this all the time. I use 1/4 inch hardware cloth, which means each little square is 1/4 of an inch. Or sorry, I use 1/2 inch hardware cloth. I think is right.
I think
And
it's quarter
then
inch.
I have to go. Well, I can't look it up, but
Maybe just
the
half. I don't remember.
yeah, I think I mostly use half-inch hardware cloth, and then in some places where I'm trying to keep out like mice, I'll use quarter-inch. And um, so Einstein has destroyed this necklace while we've been talking. So you're gonna have to tell my daughter what you did. Um, so the that creates I do two layers. So one on each side of the wood post so that there's a dead space in the middle so that if the birds are sleeping up against the wire and a raccoon shows up in the night or something, it can't reach through and grab or a bird of prey lands on the side or whatever it is. It makes a safety buffer.
Yep.
So, but the problem with that hardware cloth is it's silver, and so that creates a big visual block. So the way you fix that, and I don't understand how it works, I just know that it does, is you paint it black.
Yep.
Well, that is, I mean, I'm talking about hundreds of feet of hardware cloth that Chris and I are going to have to hang.
Yeah.
And that is a painful amount to paint. It's also really hard to paint because you can't paint it when it's rolled up. So you end up mounting it and then painting it, which is just messy and hard to do. And you end up painting the wood a bunch by accident. It's just not good. So Chris helped me find there's a company that does pre-coated hardware cloth. So I'll be using that so it'll come black from the factory. We won't have to paint it, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
And
Big time saver.
it's cheaper too because I'm
Oh,
buying in such bulk.
sweet.
I'm buying 900 feet. So
Yeah.
cheaper is better.
And also, Jay, one of the benefits of when you talk about doubling the wire up, the other benefit of that is it keeps the inside of your aviary cleaner, right? Now you don't have birds sitting on the wood that's exposed and pooping on it, and you have to go and clean it. So it just keeps the frame of your aviaries and your shed cleaner and prolongs the life of them just a little bit more because you're not constantly having to scrape them off and disinfect them, things like that. So that is an added benefit there too with the double wire.
Right. Okay. So the next thing to talk about, speaking of prolonging the life of the aviary. So I've gone back and forth on this. So this conversation really starts with a discussion about bird poop. All right. So as a general rule, and this is not, if your bird poop doesn't match this exactly, I don't want you to freak out, but as a general rule, healthy bird poop is kind of a darkish green and a white mixed. So that creates a problem because if you paint the wood and the walls white, then the dark green portion shows up. But if you paint the walls dark green, then the white shows up.
Either way, you're toast.
Right. So I've been really wrestling with what color to paint the wood, and I've kind of decided that I'm going to use treated wood, which isn't necessarily great for hookbills, but I'm kind of counting on the inner hardware cloth to keep the hookbills, which the hookbills that'll be in the aviary are cockatiels and smaller. I'm kind of counting on them, the hardware cloth, to keep them from chewing that wood,
Yeah.
and providing them with some other great stuff for chewing, which we can talk about later. But I'm kind of thinking that I'm not going to paint that wood, that I'm just going to leave all the wood just treated and otherwise natural. I
Yep.
have been thinking about putting something like a Thompson's water seal on it
Yeah. I put
to increase the life.
and that I think anything to help prolong the wood or the life of the wood I think is great, and so it's probably a good option to do that. In your environment, Jay, you guys get a ton of rain, and rain does not equal good stuff for wood, even treated wood, right? So I would probably lean more towards yes. I think, anything you could do to prolong the life of your aviary and the materials, do it, in a safe manner that's not going to impact the birds. So yes, I would do that. I did paint my shed. I stained it brown, kind of a light brown, which I like. My brother, he stained his a dark brown. I actually like the dark color better. It looks really nice, but it's the issue, Jay. You're always going to see the bird poop, no matter what color you put it in.
Right.
So, so it's at what length do you want to go to try and make it pretty?
Right. So I think a dark, like a Thompson's water seal or something, that like a Thompson's water stain repellent or whatever that. And then I also, that appeals to me a little bit too, because it also helps, the wood comes from the lumber mill with some natural cracks and crevices and stuff, and that'll help seal those up so that I'm not having like mites and stuff get in there.
Right.
So I think I will do some kind of sealing um, of it. And then the last thing, the kind of the natural thing that comes from this is the the ground, the bottom of the aviary. So I'm gonna pour before you get here because I need to do that pretty quickly for temperature reasons. I'm gonna get some of my friends to help me, and we're gonna pour three concrete pads that'll form the majority of the floor of the aviary. There will also be a dirt section in each aviary. The dirt section, I have one in my current aviary. I love it. It is work, so it gets gross. You end up, I call it like mucking out like a horse stable.
Yeah.
Every 6-ish months, you have to basically go through with almost like a snow shovel, scoop out the uh the old dirt, right? And I put in like I don't just use like any random dirt. I put in organic potting soil with no additives. Um, but it provides a ton of enrichment for the birds. So for instance, like the
Yeah.
quail, the ground birds will get in there and take like a dust bath. They don't take a water bath, they take a dust bath. And then the other birds will go find insects in it, worms get in it. Seed inevitably gets in it and sprouts, and then they eat the sprouted seed. So it provides I think, a really important part of their overall enrichment foraging behavior. So each of these aviaries is going to have in that 8 foot width, there's going to be 5 to 6 feet, haven't solidified that, of concrete, and then a few feet of dirt. And so I've got to figure out what to put on the other side of that dirt, whether it's going to be basically a strip of concrete. So I'm going to have a cutout of concrete that the dirt goes
Hmm.
in, or if I'm going to just let that go all the way to let the pad end and then put the ground on the outside wood, which I don't really like laying wood on the ground. So I think I'll probably have like a cutout for
Yeah,
dirt to go in.
you have to do like cement or like brick or block of some sort for the frame around the dirt or something like that.
No, so see, this is a good thing to talk about. That's another good option is I could just do a cinder block track around the outside. And then the other important thing to do, if you're going to do any of that, to keep rodents and stuff that can dig out underneath the ground and out several feet, you have to put 1/4 inch mesh that's smaller, that if something tries to dig in and under, it gets stopped.
Yeah.
So probably that's what I'll end up doing, is probably a cinder block track
And I
and then
did
that
see,
mesh.
I saw an aviary posted on Facebook once, and they had something similar to that, Jay, but they basically had the whole platform cement, and then they had just framed out certain like rectangles and squares and triangles throughout that main cement pad, and they had that as like their dirt piles. So it was still all surrounded by cement, and the frame of the aviary would all be on cement, but then they had kind of you know patches within there that were the dirt patches, and they had some trees planted in those dirt patches and things like that. So potentially an option there that would still give you a solid foundation for your to build your aviary on, but then could still have some open areas for dirt. But yeah.
Yeah, and I may do something like that. So I haven't quite solidified that, and I have about a week to solidify it. So I've really got to decide exactly my plan there and get that done. And then the lighting on the inside. So right now I've got full spectrum lighting, which means like they're actually, I think they're for growing plants, like hydroponics or whatever, like growing plants inside, but
Uh-huh.
they're called Philips grow bulbs or grow light bulbs. And so when you're standing in my aviary, you can feel yourself like you feel like you're standing in the sun. Which I'm bald. That's not great. Um, but I've got birds right now, especially like in my hookbill flight, that don't go outside. So they needed for part of the day full spectrum lighting. Couple of downsides to that. So the bulbs are expensive. I might be giving myself skin cancer, and they have to be replaced over time. The bulbs don't stay full power forever. So every couple of years you have to replace the bulbs, which those bulbs are like $50 a pop.
Right.
So um but I think I've decided because all of my birds will now have outside access for at least for most of the year, I am not going to do that. So I got lights today they're really cool. They're actually for like a warehouse
Uh-huh.
and they're LED and they have a panel that kind of shoots down like normal, but then the last two bars on the outside can rotate. So I'm gonna have obviously not in a warehouse in a much smaller room. I'm gonna have a big amount of light, but it won't be full spectrum. But I think that'll be okay. And then
Yep.
it'll all be on a timer.
Yeah. You know, the cool thing is,
So
Jay, 100%. I think that it, you'll have to make sure that all of your aviaries at some point during the day get a section that's full natural sunlight coming through, right? Whether that's you leave a section of your roof open so that they can get it from the roof coming down or the sides of your aviaries. So I have something similar. So my breeding cages that I have inside my shed, I've got the full spectrum lighting on because I've got birds in there for months at a time that can't get out to the sun. Uh, my aviary section that's connected to my outdoor that goes to my outdoor aviary, I have something similar. It's a construction LED light that puts off a good amount of light, so it brightens up my shed, but it's not putting off any type of ray, right? Or UV rays or anything like that. Uh, it, but I do that because the birds can go outside and they have plenty of basking options throughout the day, even in the wintertime, to to soak up the sun, and they do it. Like I've posted many times, the birds just hanging out there on the aviary floor or up on a person. They look like they're dying. Honestly, they like fluff their feathers out really big and their wings out, and they're just soaking up the sun. So I think something like that is totally fine. I think it's a good option. If
yeah.
your birds can't make it outside, full spectrum is the option. But if you have the option that your birds can go outside, let them get the natural sunlight. I mean that's the best option for them.
Right. And that's what I'm thinking. And this just kind of worked out great, but it worked out so that the two aviaries combined will are on the east side of the shed. So they'll get, sun rises in the east. So they'll get their sun in the morning. And then the aviary on the west, the other aviary's on the west side, so it'll get its sun in the afternoon. But all the birds will get natural sun for, half the day.
Nice.
So I think that'll be perfect. Down here in the semi-tropics, certainly not lacking in sun. So it's either raining or really sunny here and really no in between. And sometimes it's sunny while it's raining.
Yeah.
So um so yeah, I'm really excited. I'm getting a big aviary. It's coming together. I'm still, the I my wife keeps saying to me, "Do it how you want it now, so you're not always making changes." And I finally just set her down and said, "Look, uh, I'll be." I'm in my mid 30s. I plan on keeping this bird cage as long as I'm medically able to, right? So hopefully into
Right,
my 70s or 80s. There is no way that I'm not going to change things between now and then.
right.
But um, I'm trying to do as much forethought, as much planning, as much, oh, nice to have now so that I don't have to make big changes later. I'm trying to make little changes later.
100%. And it comes back to what we always tell them, right, Jay? Do your homework. You know, look at other aviary designs. Look at the different types of materials that are out there. And I know that you're doing that right now. What's best for the birds, but what's also best for your situation and what you're wanting to happen. Because if you put yourself in a situation that it only triples your responsibility or burdens you more, then the birds eventually are going to suffer, right? Because you're going to have a hard time providing that optimal care for them. So, do it right, and, do your homework, make sure you got the right stuff going on there. And I think you're going to do it, and it's going to look awesome. And I'm really excited to have the opportunity to be able to come out and help you with it, and be a part of this big build with you. I think it's going to be incredible, and your birds are going to love it when they get the opportunity to eventually move into there.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say, and then we'll talk about some of the cool stuff we have over here is and I'm sure this isn't the last time we're going to talk about this on the podcast. In fact, I know it's not. So don't, if you're
Yeah,
thinking, now's a great time to throw in some suggestions, questions, ideas,
yeah,
whatever you got,
absolutely. Please.
drop in the comments because I'm going to need it. But a lot of people have asked me, "Oh, you're tripling the size of the birdcage, so you're going to get triple the amount of birds." And the answer is no.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get I'm gonna get some more birds. I'm definitely not gonna stay. I've today right now I have 131, and I've already increased a couple of pairs, knowing I'm gonna have more room. But I am not gonna triple the birds. I'm going to have more room per bird. And that'll help me in a couple of big ways. First of all, and help the birds, which to me kind of synonymous. I'm trying to do what's best for birds. Birds will have more room. They'll all be more comfortable. I will have to clean each aviary less often
Yep.
because they won't all be as crammed in. And
Yep.
then, when things like breeding and territorial stuff comes up, those birds will all have just like a little bit more breathing room, So, um, all of this, the first thing is what's best for the birds, and then what's the best way for me to work this so that the birds can have the best possible environment. So
Yep.
that's the whole
Absolutely.
goal of this whole thing. So I'm excited. I can't wait. Jayviary 3.0. Here we go.
It's gonna be awesome, man. It's gonna be. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. It really is gonna be something incredible. I'm excited to be a part of it with you and film it. Yeah, like Jay said, if you got questions, throw them in. Questions about aviary builds. I mean, like we said, we'll make some more videos down the road and probably be a little bit more specific in all of the materials that's going to be used and dimensions and whatnot, to give you guys a better idea of what this is going to look like. But yeah, ask us any questions that you have or ideas. We'd love to hear them.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of cool things that are going to go in the new aviary, if Einstein can take a break. He's very interested in them. Um, so one of the other people I've had a conversation like this with is a guy named Tony Arnold. He lives in Australia. He is one of the preeminent finch
he's
keepers in the world.
he's the bird legend down there, man.
Yeah, he's also a super nice, awesome guy. And he and his daughter have figured out how to 3D print really, really awesome bird nests.
Yeah,
So we
and
all
and
have
and
the
these are
woven nests.
proven. These are proven nests, Jay. He is breeding his birds successfully, incredibly hard species successfully in these nests year to year.
Right. So and his channel, his brand is Bones Birds, which I hope you can see that on camera.
There you go. Yep, you
But
got it.
so a few months ago, Chris and I reached out to Tony, and I actually was just talking to him about these, And one of the things he said was, "Man, I wish I could had a good way to get them to the States." And I said, "I know a way." Um,
Say no
and
more.
I talked Tony into giving us the files, and then I have a coworker who 3D prints. And so he has 3D printed these for us. Right now we have these two styles, which are and these kind of replace the woven nests, which the
Yeah,
two huge downsides to the woven nests are they're basically single use. They get really dirty and you can't clean them. So they're really only good for one season. They get wet, they grow mildew, all those things. And then birds can get stuck
they
in
get
the
their
weave.
toenails in there.
Mhm. Einstein, you cannot have my AirPod. So he's very, very feisty tonight. So this eliminates both of those problems, right? These are food grade plastic. They're dishwasher safe. So my new dishwasher, I'll be able to just throw these in between clutches, wash them, put them back up. They mount super easily. So you just put a screw
Yep,
in, put it over the hole and slide it down. And two kinds. So this is just kind of your standard, they call it the short neck. And Chris and I both have these and we are selling them. So if you
yes,
want one, um, we have the short neck in this kind of darker green and this tan, or we have the long neck, which some of your Australian species, like especially kind of your Gouldians, they would like
your
stuff like
Goulians,
this.
they love those. Yep,
Yeah,
Goulians and
maybe your shaft
starfinches are
tails,
and shafts. They're
stars.
big on those. Yep.
And then these ones
Well,
also, they have you can remove the end cap, and then these have a little hole in them for a dowel perch on the end. Um, we ran out of the company that makes this forest green apparently stopped making it or was out of stock. So we went to next best green we could find. This screen's a little bit bright, but still does the job. So Chris has these, I have these. So if you're west of the Mississippi, reach out to Chris. If you're east of the Mississippi, reach out to me.
yeah.
And um, but these things are awesome. They're reusable. They're food grade plastic. They're safe for the birds. And I expect these to basically last the rest of my life. I haven't tested that yet, but that's my expectation.
I mean, in all
Um,
honesty, Jay, yeah, things that get me really excited are things like this. It's sad to say that this is something that's like it's almost Christmas to me, right? I mean, the just like what Jay said, every year we're having to purge our nests and clean them, and they're not a very cleanable options, right? I mean, half our nest boxes are wooden, or you got the wicker, which all has its own issues. This is like an easy, safe, sanitary way to help your birds breed, and then at the end of the year, throwing them in the dishwasher, or even at the end of a clutch, right? Throwing them into the dishwasher, getting them cleaned up, putting them back out there. Um, yeah, I'm really excited for him. I think this is an awesome nest from Bones Birds. He's done a great job, and like I said, he's proven that these are successful. His finches that are very
mhm.
hard to breed take to them very easily and naturally, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I mean it's just genius. I mean, he's one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world, and he's thought of every. I mean, it's got the vent holes in the bottom, which also drain, which, if it rains or they get wet, that's just where the grossness tends to accumulate. Well, these holes are pretty big. That'll work great. It hangs so easily, and these are flat, right? So it hangs so securely, which the birds, if they have an insecure nest, that they'll toss chicks, they'll abandon clutches. I mean,
Yep,
they're just
100%.
perfect. They're just perfect, and it's a kind of a cutting edge thing. And then anytime I get to be involved with the Bones Birds, anything, I'm fired up. So,
Absolutely. Yeah,
um,
yeah. Reach out to us.
so
Let us know if you're interested in them.
Yeah, we don't have that many right now, but depending on demand, we can also have more made.
Yep,
Um, but yeah, and then last but certainly not least, New Zealand, our sponsor. Um, your one-stop shop for bird supplies. They have the perch box that Chris is holding up, where you can it's like a monthly subscription box where you get stuff for your bird. Super, super cool. Um, and then all kinds of stuff. So seed, supplements, uh, cuddle bone. I mean, you name it, it's on there. And then on top of that, cool toys. How about you chew on this instead of on Daddy? See,
Yeah,
Einstein understands the assignment. So,
we'll turn Candy has quite a few toys in her cage, and several of them are from New Zealand. So Miss Candy approves. She's mad at me because I've left her in the cage during this entire podcast, but she'll chew those toys to nothing in a matter of days. She loves them.
right, Einstein on camera has already he's killed Patrick the Star here already. All over me. I don't know if you can see, but
Sure can.
you're gonna get me in trouble. You're gonna get me in trouble, buddy. But
He's just
yeah, so
look
like
at him
this
just
one's a
eyeing it down.
Nibbles. Yeah, it's a Nibbles pumice toy. But this is the kind of stuff I'm gonna hang this on his little perch stand I have in here and let him go to town, right? It's great enrichment, great for their beaks. Look at him working his way down my arm to get back to it. Great for beat conditioning, for enrichment,
Yep.
for entertainment, all those things. So everything from the little wax bills we keep up to Candy, the blue and gold macaw that's the size of my 4 year old.
Yeah.
So can't say enough about New Zealand. Use code BirdBrains. I'm gonna take this away from you now because I'm just wearing pumice. But use code BirdBrains, get 10% off. Subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Chris's channel, reach out to us. We're both on Instagram, Facebook, we're on here. I'm on
Yep.
Reddit, which I check occasionally. I'm on Threads, which I never check. But reach out. We love doing this.
Yes, please do.
I really enjoyed this episode. This is kind of a departure from our norm. But I really
Yeah.
enjoyed just kind of this brainstorming chat. I love talking birds, man. I never get sick of it. And we're both getting towards the end of our breeding season, but I have some available birds. I'm sure Chris does too.
I do. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Reach out to us.
s- so reach out for that too. And we're always here. We want to help. If you have questions, concerns, thoughts, opinions, whatever, give us a shout.
Yes, please. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Thank you. And thank you, Chris, for all the letting me borrow your brain for the last hour. But
No, it's been awesome. I'll take this any day. I would much rather be talking about this than some of the other things I have to do during the day.
I
So
hear you. All right. Well, we'll catch you on the next one.
appreciate you guys. We'll see you.